Hello, everyone, and welcome to this episode of Finneran's Wake. I'm joined today by my friend and occasional training partner, James Flood. This series, I think we'll give it the name Flood and Finn, or Finn and Flood. I'm not exactly sure, but we're going
nice ring to it.
Where it's a lovely ring to it. But in this segment of Finneran's Wake, we're going to focus a little bit more on fitness, wellness, longevity, well-being, all subjects of which my dear friend James is an expert. So you're bound to learn a lot from him. So James, there are countless topics about which we can talk. I thought today that we would maybe do a little introductory segment where you tell us a little bit about your history in fitness and wellness and bodybuilding and things like that. And then I thought maybe we do a quick overview of our nutritional approaches, how we approach eating. So I'm going to give the floor to you for a few minutes. And be sure to look at the camera, at our beautiful audience out there, and tell us a little bit about your history in fitness, wellness, and longevity.
Well, definitely. Yeah. I mean, thanks for the amazing introduction. That was very kind of you. I really got into fitness and just working out in general. I mean, probably like around, seriously around 15, for football and baseball. But I've always had just a love and a passion for fit, like just humans, in general. Like, I was born April 2nd. That's, either opening day for baseball or WrestleMania. So it's a pretty good combination of both. And, growing up in the 80s, being that, I was born in 84. So I'm going to, I'm not going to display my full age, but no, 39 doesn't matter. But wrestling was amazing when I was a kid. Like we had Hulk Hogan, the Ultimate Warrior, just so many different superstars that were insanely jacked, ripped, fit. And, at an early age, even I remember being WrestleMania 6, which stood out for me tremendously. My whole it was on my birthday. Hulk Hogan, who was one of my favorites, wrestled the Ultimate Warrior, who was my ultimate favorite. The two of them were just the pinnacle of the sport. And Ultimate Warrior, make a long story short, won. And I think from that day on, I was like, I need to be jacked. I was like, that was it. And
so I had no idea over the course of our friendship, I had no idea that it was WrestleMania that inspired you to become the person that you are today.
Well, it's a combination of WrestleMania and a bunch of Arnold Schwarzenegger movies. Even the B ones, like Commando and stuff like that.
Sure.
Conan the Barbarian, just to name a couple. Definitely gave my son, who's 6 now, his middle name.
Whose middle name is
Conan. Not after the late night TV host guy.
O'Brien, of course.
Somebody actually thought that up.
Right. Not exactly a paragon of fitness, though. No. He's quite nimble, though. I've seen O'Brien dance on that stage. So it was either Major League Baseball or Major League Wrestling. You seem to have been drawn more to the latter, to the wrestling. You saw these, godlike Olympian figures who were massive, who were, muscular beyond all conception. Yeah. You then fell into Arnold Schwarzenegger movies. So that was your progress as a child.
Yeah, as a child.
And you were exposed to these things quite early.
Yeah, growing up, just to give you a little quick background, I'm Italian. My mother was 100% Sicilian. My dad's Irish and German. And Italian women, if you don't eat, they freak out on you. So I was ginormous until about, I don't even know, maybe 13 years old.
Now, when you say ginormous, do you mean you were overweight?
Oh, both. Overweight and just I'm 6 foot tall, and I've been this height since 5th grade. So they were thinking I was going to be 7 feet tall. It was just hit my, growth spurt early, and my mom just loved that I could eat everything in sight. So it went hand in hand, but it was definitely interesting. I had a appreciation for food, and it's come a long way.
Now, the fact that you may have been somewhat overweight as a child, along with your affinity for professional wrestling and sports in general, and Arnold Schwarzenegger, was that an impetus for you to get into fitness yourself?
Well, I mean, I've always thought it was interesting to me, but I never really got really big into it until about let's say about like 8th grade, 9th grade, when I started training for football.
Mm-hmm.
And I had this is funny, I had a really good football coach, and he was also the strength coach and the ISSA, the detention teacher. So I knew him in a couple different ways. But and he showed me how to lift correctly, which is like what a lot of kids don't learn early. Like they just learn.
If they learn it at all, ever.
Yeah, you can just you go through the motions, and you try to max out too much, and you get hurt. But I learned the correct way from him, and it was really super beneficial because I feel like I avoided a lot of injuries.
Yeah.
And being that I was overweight as a kid, then very skinny, like to a point where it was like unhealthy. And I started lifting weights. My body responded very quickly to it. So like it was just like I gained 20 pounds, I think, my first 2 months of training.
Sure.
And I remember being in high school and kids being like, what are you taking? I'm like, protein, like creatine, like what are you talking about?
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm just eating food and training, like, but.
So what were some of those fundamentals that were instilled in you at that young age? Do you remember?
Well, the fundamentals were just hard work. Like there's no way around it. You cannot out supplement out, perfect diet. Like everybody says, oh, it's 90% diet, 10%, workout or whatever. If you do not work extremely hard in the gym, forget about the rest. Just don't even think about the rest. Like that's it. Just work hard in the gym and the rest will follow.
Mm-hmm. And do you feel as though even from a young age you had that internal fortitude and willingness to work harder, or were you, as a consequence of your quick development and those gains that you made very easily, was that motivation to work hard somewhat stunted a little bit, or or was it always there at the outset? Was that fire already lit? Was it kindled in you? You were just raring to go?
Just to give you an idea, in high school you have a weightlifting class, right? And I set it up perfect where I had weightlifting class and immediately followed by lunch. So most of the time I would, because I think periods were like 45 minutes then. I skipped lunch. I stayed in the gym, and I would come out and I'd have my protein shake followed by at the time it was Cell Tech. I don't know, the stuff was gain 10 pounds in a week, it was the advertisement, and it did work. It worked.
It did work.
Yeah, and I set it up to where I could just work out for at least, I think his lunch was like at least a half an hour. So I worked out for about an hour and 20 minutes and then down my protein shake, went on to the next class.
So at this point in your fitness evolution, whom were you following? You said Schwarzenegger and Hulk Hogan were your heroes of your earlier years, but to whom were you now looking up at this point in your life?
Well, I bought the Encyclopedia of Bodybuilding by Schwarzenegger, and if you are just starting out, or even if you're intermediate or advanced, like you read this book, you're fine. You can all the different training principles, like the rest pause, supersets, giant sets, you name it, it's in that book, and it shows you how to apply it to your training, and so you don't get stagnant. So I learned at a really young age that you can't just do the same thing over again, because your body's very adaptive. Like, I know this guy. I mean, we went running a couple of times, and his running pace is a little different than mine, but
faster is the word. Not different.
Slightly.
By different, you mean faster. No, but continue, because I think
so. Like, for instance, like me running at 8:30 pace is a pretty good pace. He wants to, while we were running, he was like, oh, let's have a full on, interview here, like we're doing right now. And I'm like,
I'm guilty of that. I have a tendency to converse while exerting myself.
I'm
But yeah,
just-
you're absolutely right. So,
Yeah.
of course, you at this point, you were just beginning, maybe not just beginning, but you were earlier in your running career, let's call it. You'd taken a long hiatus away from it, doing other, methods of cardio and different things like that. And your cardiovascular fitness was still excellent, but just that running, you didn't have that running training behind you the way I did at that point. I was training for longer distances at that point. So yeah, like an 8:30 split for you was basically a warm up for me. And for you, it was your working zone. It might have been zone 3 or maybe even zone 4, depending on how hot it was outside on that night.
It was pretty hot.
Yeah. Whereas for me, that would be zone 1 or 2. Right. So you're right. So to your point about the body adaptation, continue on with that a little bit more. So how are you able to anticipate when it needs to adapt, and how do you know what to do for your body to thrive in a new adaptive state?
Well, for instance, like let's say we're training and we're doing chest one day, right? We're doing we're starting off with the bench press, and then we're doing flies, and then incline bench press, and then cable crossovers. And let's say we do this for about like 3 or 4 weeks, and we're not getting maybe we got stronger the first 2 weeks, and then the pump's not as good the 3rd or 4th week. Your body's already knows what you're throwing at it. So you have to then for either reverse the exercise order, change up the rep scheme, decrease the weight, increase the reps. I mean, there's a million things you can do. It's just, you just got to listen to your body. Sometimes, depending on what you're trying to do, you don't need to throw 1,000,000 pounds on the bar. Like I can get and I've learned this the hard way. Training for football, it's all about how much you're lifting. And plus you got everybody in the locker room, cheering you on. And bench was one of my strongest exercises. I got up to close to 600 pounds right out of high school, freshman year of college. And you learn the hard way. And I wish I would have learned before this. But when you're pushing 600 pounds and you're repping out 500 pounds for 6-8 reps, your form's not the best. First of all, you're using your front delts, anything to get it up. And your muscles get stronger, but your ligaments and tendons don't get quite as strong as fast. So I slightly tore my pec benching. I had 375 on incline. I had my girlfriend at the time probably weighed 96 pounds, spotting me about it.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, I felt it. It's almost like a violin string, ripping. I'm like, okay. I was able to rack it without killing myself. And I was like, I rethought my training after that. It was that and a partial tricep pull that same year. And I was like, what am I doing? I was strong. I was by far the strongest, I feel like ever. And, but I didn't look right. I was puffy. I was eating way too, my micro and macro nutrients were way out of whack. I didn't even track them. I was just eating everything in sight. And, I just looked like a swollen walnut or something. And everything was hurting. And, I think from now, that I've rethought, this was back in college, this is a long time ago. Yeah. But I've rethought my training, and just everything's injury prevention now. And everything is, how hard can I go without injuring myself?
Yeah.
And how smart, all about the pump, you've trained me a couple of times.
It's always about the pump. Yeah. It will be, it shall be forever. But you make a few good points. One is the transition from performance and vanity to performance and longevity. Yeah. And that's something about which I want to talk, maybe not during this initial introductory episode, but in the future, I would, that's just such a fruitful area on which we can expand, because there's so much to discuss there. One thing that you mentioned, and it's sort of a cliche in the weightlifting exercising world, and that is listening to one's body. Now, it's easy or easier for those who are very experienced in weightlifting to do that, right? So we kind of intuitively know this, what our body needs, or how to adjust your workouts so as to optimize your body's performance. You definitely have a better grasp of that than I do. And that's something that I've learned through our time together. And I've been better able to integrate those lessons into my training. So now I know my body even better, thanks to you, thanks to the knowledge of your body. But for a novice, someone who's just being introduced to weight training, let's say, they don't have that intuitive grasp. They don't have that understanding, that experience. So how does a novice come to know his or her body in that intimate way that you just described?
Oh, I mean, I've learned it by trial and error. It's just, I push my body to the limit so much. And you have to understand the difference between, it's going to hurt. There's going to be pain involved in lifting weights, but you need to understand the pain between muscle pain and ligament and joint pain. Totally different. Okay. Totally, way different. So like when a muscle's been totally fatigued, it actually feels great. And you'll feel it start to cramp. When it's a joint or ligament, it's more of a sharp, like, ow, that's not right pain. So you don't want to get to that point where you're hurting ligaments and tendons. And you want to use a weight, like everybody sees, like they see these bodybuilders, they see these massive people lifting, like for photo shoots, like 600 pounds, and this is how they got all big. That's not how they got big. I mean, yes, that comes with the territory of what they're doing. They also are using performance enhancing stuff that will put on tons of muscle. Okay. So like if you're just an average guy coming out, just starting, lift as heavy as you can for, like, let's say 12 reps with good form. Like that's, like people try to go too lower reps. And then if you're trying to be like a power lifter, have at it. But if you're trying to look good, get in shape, if you're doing 4 reps, super heavy, you're kind of like defeating the purpose. Maybe once in a while for strength gains, but I like to stay around the 12 to 15, sometimes even higher. Like sometimes we'll go crazy. We'll do like some 50 rep stuff, but it's just, you just got to listen to your body, and you'll know. Your body will tell you.
Yeah, and that's a new approach to lifting, to which you've introduced me. This higher volume training, again, forever chasing the pump and often achieving it and grasping it, but doing so at higher volume workouts with higher, lower amounts, lower weights, but higher repetitions. So I think that's everything you said is right. Now, aside from being my friend and my training partner, you're also a trainer in your own right. So maybe some of these novice exercise enthusiasts, let's call them, the young James or the young Conans, they can seek the advice of somebody like you. And of course, we're in the process of building up and enhancing your social media presence, and the Instagram and the Twitter and all these sorts of things. So stay tuned. In the coming weeks and months, we're going to have much more content and material over which James will have control, and perhaps you'll be able to contact him and access him and his expertise and be able to receive some sort of training regimen from him. So that's something that we're looking into for the future. But I think the general advice is well taken for the younger lifters. So I want, again, in the future, I want to enlarge on these themes, but I did mention nutrition, okay? And I don't want to conclude this initial introductory episode without touching on that just a little bit. So nutrition, eating, diet, call it what you will, it's something, about which we're always talking. And I'm forever interested in new techniques and how to, optimize, absorption, the hours at which you're eating, the actual substance that you're consuming, you know, how many grams of protein you need, how many grams of fat, how many grams of carbohydrates. So talk to us in broad terms about your current approach to nutrition, just at this moment in time,
yeah.
currently. You know, what is your general philosophy? Or is it a vegetarian? Is it omnivorous? Is it carnivorous? You know, do you have cheat days? Just give us the broad scheme.
Just veggie burgers.
Just veggie burgers.
That's it.
Morning
It's
Star.
Impossible. Burger King for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and you're set. Oh, just kidding. First of all, I've done it all. I've done the 9, 8 meals a day. You know, every hour and a half, protein, carbs, fats. You know, where you weigh it out with a little scale and all that. You know, so I know just by looking at a piece of protein, like about how much it weighs. You know, it's you do it several 100,000 times. You know, you don't have to do it anymore. So I don't weigh anything anymore. I'm doing like intermittent fasting. So like when I wake up, I usually don't eat until about 12:30. You know, sometimes 1 I'll go to. And my first meals, you know, I don't like really meal prepping and doing all that, but you know, occasionally if I'm trying to get super shredded, I will. I'll just go to like, you know, like normal places, but I'll find like what's healthy. I'll go to Panera, and like let's say we go to Panera for lunch. You know, I meet my girlfriend, and we get, you know, there's a chicken, avocado, and rice bowl. It's perfect, right? And you know, like I make sure I get at least 50 grams of protein in that meal, right? My carbs are probably like around 75 to 100, right? And my fats are probably around 52. So they're bigger meals because I'm only having 2 major meals and then 1 shake or a snack.
So you're fasting intermittently. You're eating 2 relatively large meals a day. And why are you fasting intermittently? What's the point?
Well, I mean, science is, you know, first of all, your blood sugar levels are more balanced when you do that. You don't have to worry about spikes of insulin where you store body fat. I feel better. My brain fog throughout the day is better. I function at work like a million times better. If I would eat breakfast, I'm tired by lunch. I don't like that. So as longer I can wait, the longer I offset that, like just lethargy. So I eat at lunch. I have energy till I get home, and then I go. Usually I work out around 5:30, 6 o'clock. So if I'm going to run, which I usually run about 3 miles with my dogs before I go train, people are like, why do you do it before you go train? I'm like, well, I want to jump my metabolism up by running. So I'm running, I'm getting my metabolism up, I'm warmed up. Therefore, when I get into the weights, I'm already burning fat from the cardio. So I'm warmed up, I'm sweating, I'm hot. You don't ever want to start lifting weights cold. Okay. Like that's not a good idea. That's when injuries happen. So after I do the run, it's a perfect time to hit the weights. And then I get down to like usually around to like 8, you know, sometimes 7:38, you know, and I will immediately go home, bust out my trusted air fryer.
On which he is overly reliant, but that's a different issue.
Right.
Yeah.
He likes frying pans.
Well, let me intervene. I like cooking, like a person, like a civilized person. No, I mean, I also am occasionally dependent on the air fryer, of which there are, you know, multiple varieties, and it has great uses. So I do encourage the use of the air fryer. I'm not opposed to it, not in the least. But tell me, you don't do fasted cardio? I'm surprised to know that.
No, I do
Cardio in the fasted state.
So sometimes I do. Like so on training days or days where I don't have to go to work super early, I will do my cardio, like which is usually 3 days a week. I'll do my cardio and I'll work out in the morning, and then I'll still wait until about 12:30 till I have that. But I have, so like I'll wake up. This is my morning thing. I'll wake up. I immediately have my electrolytes, which is a 0-calorie electrolyte. It's a really good one. I think it's called Ultima or something. But it has like all your electrolytes, right? So people think, oh, how do you go to the gym? How do you do this fasted and have a pump? Like, did you eat the night before? Yeah, you did. You probably had a lot of carbs. I do. I have probably like 150 to like close to 200 grams of carbs sometimes the night before. So if you think that you don't have glycogen stores still from the night before, you're totally fooled. So anyways, I will have my electrolytes, my colostrum I told you about. This. Trying to get him to do the colostrum. He's all about his beef liver, which is, it freaks me out. Yeah. Rather swallow a pill.
You'll be recruited to the way of the liver consumers. And these are all things that we'll talk about more in depth, because you have an interesting array of supplements and different combinations of foods and drinks and whatnot that you will take.
The timing is crucial. The timing's crucial. Yeah. Like I said, taking these things first thing in the morning, you're still in a fast, and say you're not going to break your fast because it's just minerals and electrolytes. And the colostrum, I think, has no calories. I think it has maybe 3. So you're still not going to break your fast. You don't have to worry about, oh man, I'm not fasting anymore. Not the case. So I take all my vitamins too, usually when I take that too, on an empty stomach. People are like, why do you take vitamins on an empty stomach? I'm like, I just like to do it that way. And I like to start my day off by absorbing all those micronutrients, right? So then your body has time to break that down by the time you have lunch. And then I just feel awesome. I've just been doing this like this for probably the last 3-4 years, like that. 3 years probably, yeah. And it's a game changer. The fasting's game changer. I mean, I eat close to 4,000, sometimes on weekends, 5,500 calories a day.
5,500 calories a day?
5,500, yeah. So 4,000 usually during the week is my
between 2 meals.
Between 2 meals and a snack. I know it sounds crazy.
Extraordinary.
It's fun.
I imagine.
No, I mean, and if I do not do that, I will I'm 203 or 204 right now.
His weight.
Yeah, my weight. It's 36 stone or no, I don't know like that. But so
4,000 calories on average for maintenance.
Yeah.
That's like a Phelpsian diet. Michael Phelps would probably consume something equivalent to that.
No, he's just like 10.
Maybe in his retirement, he's reduced it to 5,000.
Well, I mean, I've never done, just by simply adding cardio, I had to do that. The running alone. Yeah. I mean, I went from, next time we do this, we'll show you pictures and stuff. But I went from 240, 245, just, lots of mass, couldn't run a quarter mile to now I'm 205. I feel like I look better. I feel like I function better as a human too. And just by adding the cardio, and if I did not consume that much calories, I would probably weigh 175. That's probably my normal. That's probably my, if I didn't work out, what I would look like as a normal, you know what I'm saying? If you didn't work out and you just we're an average Joe.
Yeah. As many of us are in this world, and there's nothing wrong with that. Of course, we're trying to encourage fitness and wellness and heft and bulk and all these great things.
Yeah, everything, all the good stuff.
But yeah, that's extraordinary. I didn't realize that you were consuming quite that many calories. So
I've sent you some pictures.
Oh yeah,
I sent you a picture of the ribeye and the.
Yeah. But in my mind, it's just difficult to conceive of that many calories.
Do you think they were mini ribeyes or something?
Yeah, you're more of a mini ribeye type. You're a thin cut, thin slice.
You're thin slice. Yeah.
Me, I'm the bone in. I'm the. What do we get at Texas Roadhouse? 24 ounce.
We got the 24-ounce ribeye.
I leapt on that. You were a little hesitant to order and then attempt.
This guy,
the 24 ounce.
He almost ate the bone. I'm like,
I thought about bringing it home. for bone broth.
Oh, bro.
Yeah.
Yeah, you should have.
Yeah, I didn't know. Some restaurateurs frown upon that.
I bring it home for my dog, and you bring it home
Yeah.
for bone
For
broth.
myself,
Like, this guy.
Yeah, the bone broth is essential though for collagen,
Yeah.
beard growth, hair growth, nail growth, skin, wonderful skin.
Hair.
Speaking of skin, we'll have to apologize. We chose a location here in the apartment complex in which we live, a lovely apartment complex in which we live. But I realized that it's a little dark. James, you look a little, I mean, you're just wonderfully tan, but yeah, you do look a little dark.
Oh yeah, I'm starting to darken out. Huh?
Yeah, and that dark
underneath
shirt.
the light.
I mean, I look like a cherub. this light on me. I look.
You're out angling
look-
me too. You
I
see
look.
this?
I look angelic. I look
He
like
did
I
this
could,
on-
like I could be in a Botticelli painting.
This is what he does. He puts me on his podcast.
I
He puts-
ensure.
He puts me in the dark, so I look all small and sickly.
I ensure in advance that I have
Let's
a
switch seats.
perfectly lit face and arms.
Can we switch seats real quick? I don't think this is
I don't
fair.
want to trip. I don't want to trip on that
You
wire.
just hop over it.
No,
It's like, come on.
I don't think so. It's too late in the episode
This
for
is
that.
coming from the guy who runs like 20 miles.
So
a
we
day.
will, for the next episode, which there certainly will be one, we'll be sure to maybe get out into the natural light if possible.
Oh, we can ground.
Or we can
We can
definitely
put on the
ground.
earth ground.
The Earth Runners, yeah. We'll be promoting them for sure. But we'll try to find a setting that's a little bit more conducive to this. Again, I'm sort of an amateur, both experienced weightlifters, you more than me, but we're certainly amateur or less than amateur videographers. So
Yeah,
we'll try to figure out a spot that's a little bit better with the lighting. So for that, I apologize. James, you still look great. Hefty, strong, but a little dark.
Can you see my face? They can't even see my face.
I don't know. You gotta. Hopefully, they can see the beard at the very
Yeah,
end.
that's all that matters, right?
It's really,
It's
really
really dark.
coming in well. My beard is also in its infancy, but in the right, in a totally different type of lighting, it will begin to flower.
I need some more egg yolk for that.
Little egg yolks. That's another topic of conversation. Egg yolk on the beard and in the hair. Protein, mask, necessary. So I think we will conclude our inaugural episode of Finn and Flood on that less than edifying note. We're talking about the camera and the lighting. But today we covered a little bit about your history, how you got into fitness, Hulk Hogan and Arnold Schwarzenegger, get a hat tip for that. Your trajectory through the ages as you began as a child and you developed in high school and then in college, and how your approach has changed from one focused more on vanity to longevity, where it is today. And you're still in wonderful shape, incredible shape. You're the envy of Naples, Florida. So but we also covered a little bit about how to challenge and shock the body and how to get it out of those states of complacency and to rekindle some of the growth and some of the gains that we're all after. I talked a little bit about nutrition, intermittent fasting, its benefits, doing cardio in a fasted state, how many calories you're consuming, what types of foods. And again, there are just so many things about which we could talk. I just wanted to introduce a few, set up this, our equipment, understand each other in this setting. It's a little different once the camera's on. These are things, that we talk about daily, in person. It's a little different when the microphone is here and the camera is on and the computer is open. So I think you did an excellent job. Do you have any parting thoughts for our audience?
Parting thoughts. Yeah, I would say hopefully you learned something. And thank you very much for watching. And just live smart. Live smart. Don't try to impress anybody. And have fun. And don't go running with this guy. Don't do it.
Excellent advice.
Yeah.
On every front, excellent advice. Do not go running with me, but listen to him. All right. So with that, we will sign off. I'm Daniel Finneran. This is the one and only James Flood. Farewell from Finneran's Wake.